हाँ जी, a very good afternoon to you all. Welcome to Job Grid IS. So this is session 20 of Mains Enrichment Program, in which we are discussing the important PYQs of Indian history, art and culture, world history and post-Indian independence. We have discussed all the PYQs of modern Indian history. And now we are on our second crucial topic, which is the art and culture. This is session 20 of this answer writing session, and we have covered five sessions of Indian art and culture, right? So I have already told you the relevance of the PYQs in this examination, right? And today we are going to discuss one more important question. So what is my focus nowadays, that you skip the medieval Indian history portion for the mains examination. Yes, you can skip, but the main thing is that uh, there is a topic in your syllabus which is known as Indian heritage, and Indian heritage covers all the aspects of Indian history, be it ancient history, medieval history and modern history. So don't be surprised if you see any kind of question of ancient history or medieval history in Indian art and culture portion in your mains examination, right? You cannot say that this is not the part of my syllabus. UPSC knows this syllabus better than you, so it's better to decode this syllabus instead of just analyzing it, right? Okay, so question of the day is how will you explain the medieval Indian temple sculptures represent the social life of those days? Okay, medieval Indian temple sculptures. Actually, this is not medieval Indian temple structure. These are the influence of. The question is here is bit wrong. The question is influence of Persian literary sources on Indian landscape, on medieval Indian landscape, right? What is the influence of Persian literary sources on medieval Indian landscape? So we have to discuss, we have to explain, right? So what is the impact of Persian literary sources? So whenever you talk about these Persian literary sources, whenever we discuss about these Persian literary sources, you discuss about the medieval Indian history, because Persian literature developed after the Arab invasion in India. Minhaj un Siraj, Amir Khusro, Nizamuddin Aulia, later on Al-Baruni, right? Later on Ibn Battuta. These people came, and a lot of Persian scholars existed in medieval India. They were patronized by sultans and the Mughals, right? So Persian literature, synthesized the Indian culture. Persian literature synthesized with the Indian culture, right? In medieval era, the Persian literature facilitated the synthesis of Persian and Indian culture. Clear? Now one by one we will see the various aspects of Persian literary sources, right? What we will see? Various various aspects of Persian literary sources. Various aspects of Persian literary sources. First of all, we discuss the political aspect. The political aspect, right? These Persian literary sources, in abbreviation, I'm writing is this PLS, right? The PLS, the Persian literary sources. The PLS, the Persian literary sources, give the political happenings, the political scenario of the medieval time, right? The political happenings of the medieval time, right? So political political history of medieval times, political history of medieval times. For example, Minhaj un Siraj, Minhaj a Siraj, right? He was patronized by Nasruddin Mahmud, right? And Nasruddin Mahmud was a Mamluk Sultan. He existed before the advent of Balban, which means he was the preceder of Balban. Balban was his Ghayasuddin Balbal, who was the founder of Shamshi dynasty, was his successor. So he gave the political happenings during the Mamluk era, Mamluk Sultan era, which existed after the slave era, right? What kind of political happenings were going on, what kind of reign Balban had, what is the difference between the ideology of Balban and Nasruddin Mahmud, right? Balban gave the concept of Sizda and Pebaus. So these all political happenings, the invasion of Mongols, right? The invasion of Genghis Khan, narrated in his book, name is Tawarik ul Nasiri. Tawarik ul Nasir. Tawarik ul Nasir, right? The social aspect. Next, we will discuss about the social aspect. Social aspect. So whenever we are giving the social insights, whenever we are providing the social aspect, what we are doing actually, we are looking towards we are having some insights about the society of medieval era. What kind of society they had. In their society, they had generally 3 or 4 classes: the priestly class, the warrior class, the artisans, and the businessman, right? So these 4 classes were ruling there. And what was the scenario? Which class was higher, which class was lower, the difference between Muslims and non-Muslim, the imposition, the concept of jizya at that time, the concept of pilgrimage under the Mughal rule that time. So they are drawing a very broad picture of medieval Indian society. So there is a famous poet. His name is Hafiz and Sadi. Very famous poet. His name is Sadi. Right? Sadi is one of the prominent poets of medieval Indian history. He wrote a book. He wrote generally two books. He wrote two books. One is Gulistan. One is Gulistan, and another which is very prominent is Bustan. Right? And Bustan had 10 chapters. It has 10 chapters. And this is this book is listed in the top 100 books of all time. Top 100 books of all time. They were listed by a newspaper agency, The Guardian. And these two books used to be taught to the student of erstwhile medieval era, and they were taught in muktabs. So what were muktabs? They were the elementary Muslim schools. And these two books were, mandatory for the students to study. Right? These books were mandatory. So now what we are saying, these two books, narrating very well all the dimensions of Indian society of the medieval era, and they were compulsory to study for the Muslim students, especially in muktabs. Muktabs were the elementary musician schools of medieval Indian history. So this is how we are going to draw the outline of this question. This all what we are doing is the brainstorming. Right? Next is religious aspect. Religious aspect. So what is religious aspect? Religious aspect gives you the insight about the practice of religion in the medieval era. Especially the best example is Kabir Das. Right? And his works are collected in his poems, which are known as bijaks. Another prominent example is Ras Khan. Right? Who is a prominent Muslim saint, famous for his Krishna Bhakti. Who was famous for his Krishna Bhakti. Now, we have Kabir Das, we have Ras Khan, and we have one more religious poet whose name was Rumi. And Rumi was famous for his commentary on Indian philosophy. Another one was Rumi. Famous for his commentaries on Indian philosophy. Right? They were very famous. He was very famous for his poetry on for his commentaries on Indian philosophy. Whenever, let me remind you one thing, whenever you discuss about these social aspect, the name of Amir Khusro is very famous. He was the disciple of Nizamuddin Aulia, and he wrote his songs and poems, especially in Persian language as well as Hindi and Punjabi language, right? So you can give one more example. Amir Khusro. If Sadi is here, then Amir Khusro is here. Amir Khusro. Right? So Amir Khusro was famous for his poetry, for his songs, and he used Persian languages, Persian. He used Hindi language, and he used Punjabi language, right? Which is showing his open heartedness while he was approaching the Indian culture. What we have mentioned, that Persian literature gives insights between the fusion of Persian culture as well as, or the Islamic culture and the Indian culture. And what Amir Khusro is known as the father of ghazals, father of qawwalis, right? He was the father of ghazals and father of qawwalis. And qawwalis. What were qawwalis? Qawwalis were the Islamic songs. Yeah, they were the Islamic songs dedicated to the God, in the form of paragraphs, right? So this was the social aspect. We have already discussed the religious aspect. Let us discuss the court patronage. Right? These, Persian scholars, these Persian poets, these Persian lyricists were patronized by both sultans as well as the Mughals. Patronized by the sultans and the Mughals. For example, Amir Khusro, he was patronized by Alauddin Khilji. And well, Amir Khusro was the one who saw the reign of maximum medieval rulers, right? But mostly at the very first time he was patronized by Alauddin Khilji. Right? Alauddin Khilji. Right? So let us, these points are enough for brainstorming, and this question at the word limit of 150 words. Now the question is misprinted by some technical error in this PPT. We will be very, very careful by the next time. Now, what I am trying to convey you, is court patronage. So let us discuss all the points of this question one by one. Right? How will you write the introduction? A strong introduction. A strong introduction doesn't mean that you write an extensive introduction. Word limit matters a lot in this examination. If you exceed the word limit, there is a negative marking, and it will reflect in your mark sheet after the completion of the entire exam cycle. Clear? Now let us start this question. Introduction. So medieval India witnessed confluence of cultures and Persian literature shaping the intellectual and artistic landscape. What kind of artistic landscape we are talking about? In Persian literature, there is a mention of Indian castles, the ancient Indian castles. On those lines, Persian architecture came into the existence. Right? We will see it later. Let us discuss the points of the body. First of all, the cultural synthesis. Persian literature in medieval India facilitated a cultural synthesis between Persian and Indian traditions, as I explained. For example, Amir Khusro, a prominent Persian poet, incorporated Indian themes and motifs, bridging the cultural gap. How he is using the Indian themes? He is writing about the war between Alauddin Khilji and Rawal Ratan Singh, and he is praising the bravery of Gora Singh. He was the commander of the army of Chittor, right? Who was the commander of the army of Chittor, right? He is narrating very well the bravery of Gora and Badal, the bravery of Ratan Singh, the political happenings of those time, right? It's not Malik Muhammad Jaisi who is writing the Padmavat during the reign of Akbar, not even visited Chittor. He wrote this book of Padmavat while sitting in Ajmer, which is far away from Chittor. But Amir Khusro, witnessed the war between Alauddin Khilji and Rawal Ratan Singh live with his live eyes. And he narrated in his book that Rawal Ratan Singh and the army of Chittor were the one, Rajputs were the one who crushed the dream of Alauddin Khilji to be the Sikandar-e-Sani. Alauddin Khilji assumed a title of Sikandar-e-Sani, but there is a famous story. It was Amir Khusro who said that, Huzur, you first of all you become the emperor of entire India, then think about to conquer the world. The stature of Sikandar, the Alexander the Great, is much more bigger than Alauddin Khilji. But Alauddin Khilji was a smart man. He knew very well the rich resources of India. He knew very well the resources of Malwa and the fort of Chittor on the way of Malwa. Right? So it was all political things that were happening. Right? Padmavat is a different story. It's a different story. But the main reason behind these things was political, as per Amir Khusro, who witnessed these political happenings live because he was present with Alauddin Khilji at that time. Now, what he is doing? He is bridging the cultural gap. Right? He is narrating a lot of things. As I mentioned earlier, what Alauddin saying? He is using the language of Persian as well as Hindi and Punjabi also. So he is trying to bridging the gap. He is accepting Indian languages also. Next is political influence. Now, Persian literary sources documented political events and developments, providing valuable insights into ruling dynasties. So what I was saying, Minhaj is Siraj, right? He is narrated in his book Tabakat-e-Nasiri, the political happenings of the medieval era. Especially in the Mamluk era, between the Mamluk era and the Shamsi era, how Ghiyasuddin Balbal came to the throne and how he assumed himself as a shadow of God. He gave the concept, he gave the divine concept of Sultan. Sultan is nothing but the shadow of Allah, and he is the representative of Allah on this earth, right? And he introduced the system of Sizda and Pebos, right? So this is all narrated in his book Tabakat-e-Nasiri by Minhaj-e-Siraj, right? Sheds lights on the political landscape of medieval India, right? Next is the social commentary. Now, Persian literature often provided commentary on social norms and customs. Works of Sadi and Hafiz. I have already told you the works of Sadi. Hafiz is not that much important, but I mentioned the name for sake of the clarity of the facts, for sake of supporting my argument here. So now, works of Sadi, Bustan and Gulistan. Bustan is top 100 books of all time rated by Guardian, right? And Bustan and Gulistan were compulsory to study by the students of medieval era, right? In the elementary medieval schools, So due to some technical glitch, we lost the signal, and now we can resume the topic because the error has been fixed. ठीक है, शुरू करते हैं, चलो. So due to some technical errors, we lost the signal. That's why the session was discontinued. But no worries, we are here to resume the session. So what I was telling you, I was telling about the religious tolerance. The Persian literary sources promoted the religious tolerance and harmony, and this can be evident by the examples of Kabir and Rumi. Kabir Das Rumi, he wrote beautiful commentaries on Indian philosophy, the ancient Indian philosophy, the philosophy of Vedanta, philosophy of Buddhism, philosophy of yoga, right? He wrote very beautiful commentaries. And Kabir Das narrated a lot of literature. He wrote a lot of literature, and the most prominent one was Bijak. Right? So what it signifies, right? The medieval Indian literature, which is known as the Persian literature, is promoting the unity of all religions and importance of love and compassion. Okay. Next is the artistic expression. I narrated you earlier. The Persian literature served as a medium for artistic expression. Poets like Ghalib and Mir Taqi Mir used Persian language to create intricate and evocative verses capturing the essence of human experience. So what they are doing, you know very well the Shairi of Ghalib. What Ghalib is doing, Ghalib is sharing his life experiences in the form of beautiful shairis, beautiful poetries, beautiful, the songs, right? He is narrating the experiences, and this is a kind of banter also. This is a kind of sharing the sorrow. This is a kind of sharing the romance, the sharing of love, right? So Persian literature served as a medium of artistic expression. Ghalib is an artist, and he is expressing his life experiences by his shairis, right? Mir Taqi Mir, another prominent man, used Persian language to create intricate and evocative verses. Intricate and evocative verses is a very, very important keyword. What is the meaning of evocative? Which means they are, well versed with their phonetics. As far as their phonetics are concerned, they are very well versed, right? The essence of human experience, education and knowledge. Persian literary sources contributed to the spread of knowledge, right? Like Al-Baruni was a great scholar of medieval India, and he wrote a numerous number of books on mathematics, books on geography, books on astronomy, right? So he was a great geographer, he was a great astronomer, as well as he was a great mathematician also. So Persian literature also contributed in the field of education and knowledge. So now the court patronage, as I explained you earlier, that these Persian scholars and the people who were well versed in the Persian languages, they were patronized by both in Sultani era and Mughal era. Somebody was patronized by Iltutmish, somebody was patronized by Alauddin Khilji, somebody is patronized by Muhammad bin Tughlaq, somebody is patronized by Akbar, somebody is patronized by Shahjahan, right? So there were a number of Persian scholars who were patronized by these rulers, Okay, so how will you write the conclusion? That is very easy. Thus, the Persian literary sources from medieval India serve as a testament to the cultural, social and political tapestry of the time. So rich cultural, social and political. Why I mentioned the cultural, social and political? Because we have covered the social aspect and the political aspect separately, but the cultural aspect has number of subpoints, such as the religion, such as the knowledge and the studies, right? There are such as the art, right? So cultural, social and political tapestry of the time, they capture the spirit of the age and provide valuable insights into diverse aspects of medieval Indian society. So generally Persian literature, what is Persian literature? And actually it is providing the information about the medieval Indian history that we study through our modern books, right? That we study in English, or that we study in Hindi or any other vernacular language. So what is the basic source? They are the Persian literature who were created by the Persian scholars, and now these Persian scholars, they interacted with India after the Arab invasion of 712, especially from 1206, with the advent of slave dynasty in India, right? So this was the question for the day. I hope you understood all my points, and as I promised you, after 15 days, 15 to 20 days, I'll come up with a 15-day plan for the UPSC mains examination. How will you ace? What kind of important keywords that you need to use in your examination? I will provide all the informations just before 15 days of your examination, so that you can enhance your marks and ace in the examination. Please never forget the importance of Hindi and English in this examination. If you fail in those subjects, your copies of mains examination will not be evaluated. And do not forget to subscribe the YouTube channel of JobGrade IAS. Do not forget to download the JobGrade IAS app, in which you can see a lot of free resources, and as per your convenience, you can subscribe the Ignite Foundation batch of 2026, right? So have a nice day. Thank you.